Greetings and good health. I am Dr. Jerica Sarko, a pediatric and family wellness chiropractor. This is your Lifeline to Vitality, where we discuss ways to cultivate family wellness. Good day and great health. Welcome back to another edition of your Lifeline to Vitality. Today on the podcast, ear infections and the upper cervical spine. In the upper cervical spine, there are four main structures to focus on. They are the foramen magnum of the occipital bone, the atlas vertebra or the first cervical bone, the axis vertebra or the second cervical bone, and the brainstem of the nerve system. The brainstem exits from the foramen magnum. The atlas and the axis bones protect and surround the brainstem. The brainstem connects all the nerves from the brain to the nerves of the body. Regarding ear infections, the secondary focus is on five nerves: the trigeminal nerve, the facial nerve, the glossopharyngeal nerve, the vagus nerve, and the upper cervical spinal nerve branches. The trigeminal nerve comes out of the skull close to the foramen magnum. It supplies function to the muscles of the inner ear. The facial nerve leaves the skull in close proximity to the trigeminal nerve. It supplies function to the middle ear. The glossopharyngeal nerve also leaves the skull with the vagus nerve. It supplies function to the middle ear canal, eardrum, and throat. The vagus nerve comes out of the skull next to the foramen magnum with the glossopharyngeal nerve. It supplies function to the outer ear and ear canal. Branches from the cervical spinal nerves communicate with the four cranial nerves, the trigeminal, facial, glossopharyngeal, and vagus. The nerve system in general has four main functions. It controls all the movements we make, senses everything we feel, regulates all our body organs, and relates us to the outside world. When nerves get stressed, it affects their sensitivity, perception, and behavior to perform these functions. There are three types of stresses we deal with in life. The stresses are physical, chemical, and emotional in nature. These stresses create nerve tension and spine imbalance. Ear infections can happen to anyone but are more prevalent in toddler-aged children 1 to 3 years old. Examples of toddler nerve stress can include developing and restricting motor patterns, lactose intolerance or food allergies, and separation anxiety. One specific job of the brainstem is to adapt to these stresses and help bring the spine back in balance. If the stresses are too great for the brainstem to adapt, compensations arise. One particular compensation that occurs is in the upper cervical spine, and it is called a vertebral subluxation. A vertebral subluxation will cause the atlas and axis bones to get locked in a misaligned position. This lock will perpetuate spine imbalance and nerve system tension. This tension will lead to abnormal sensitivity, perception, and behavior of the brainstem and surrounding nerves. Nerve system function is now disrupted. Over time, this disruption can lead to symptoms of the involved nerves. The usual symptoms of ear infections are ear pain, especially when lying down, tugging or pulling at an ear, trouble sleeping, crying more than usual, fussiness, fever of 100 degrees Fahrenheit, drainage of fluid from the ear, headache, and loss of appetite. If we reference the five nerves from above, the trigeminal, facial, vagus, glossopharyngeal, and the spinal cervicals, we can see that all five of those nerves associate with ear infection symptoms. Now, the goal of chiropractic is not to medically treat the symptoms of the ear infections. The aim of chiropractic is to correct nerve tension and spine imbalance. Chiropractors correct this by adjusting the vertebral subluxation of the upper cervical spine. Correcting the subluxation better optimizes the function of the brainstem and associated nerves. The nerve system overall can sense, perceive, and behave at a greater potential when the subluxation is corrected. Thank you for listening. For even more information on how chiropractic can benefit you and your family, please check out my website, ohiospecific.com. That's ohiospecific.com. Until next time, remember to keep your head cool, feet warm, and your mind busy.